All right, welcome back. This is Wild Bills podcast number 44, and we had a pretty crazy week. We had the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals coming to a conclusion on both ends. So, crazy week for sports, and I quote that directly from my girlfriend, who all of a sudden very conveniently got very interested into the finals of those. Just kidding, babe. I know you like to take interest that I also enjoy, and I appreciate that, and I love you. So with that being said, welcome to Wild Bill 44. We're going to go over, just touch on those. I guess we can do that to lead off before we get into the very serious conversation I need to have about the Chicago Cubs. We'll start off with the Stanley Cup. My now good friend, the Stanley Cup, was in the building for the Florida Panthers winning their second of back-to-back Stanley Cup championships. And it wasn't particularly close in this particular game. They won 5-1 in the closeout game. There was obviously I think the first three games went to overtime. And it was close. It was competitive. The best player in the league, Connor McDavid, he's head and shoulders above everybody else on the ice. And that's me just going off what everybody says. I don't really know what to look for in those instances. I'm not a big hockey guy, but I kind of had a sense and a feeling that Florida was going to be the team to do it again this season. I was actually able to talk to one of the keepers of the cup on this production that I was on recently, and I brought up the subject of the Florida Panthers, and he just said, isn't it incredible what they're doing? And, I mean, just solid, consistent. Congratulations to the Florida Panthers. I don't really have much else to say. The hockey is the sport that I pay attention to the least. And it was cool to see the playoffs play out the way that they did. You always want your own dog in the fight. I want the Blackhawks to be back there. But to have no dog in the fight and just no pressure watching two teams go at it, it's awesome. And I will miss hockey, particularly this time of the year until next season. Then we had the NBA Finals. Just last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 7 closed out against the Indiana Pacers. Kind of a bummer to see Tyrese Halliburton go out. And I'm not one that really cares about Indiana. I actively root against Indiana teams, except for maybe the Colts. I don't really care about them. Indiana is the butt of all jokes in the Midwest, and it is very funny to have somebody to bully. It's very funny to point and laugh at a state. Try and ask Indiana to point anything about its own state that's better than anywhere else without saying the word taxes, and they will not be able to do it. Except for maybe Ohio. But yeah, bummer. Tyrese Halliburton, incredible run that he had. I was sitting right here in this exact spot watching Game 1 because I, for whatever reason, couldn't find it on the TV. I had to illegally stream it off some random site. And just thinking in the last 5 or so minutes, like, this isn't over. They have a chance. And to see him pull off that shot on top of the shot against the Knicks, and just overcoming all these other great teams out of the East. I got to take my hat off to them. They put up a good fight. And to see the player that kind of was at the head of it all go down with a apparent, maybe an Achilles, and might be out for the entire next season, that's a shame. It's a bummer. It's not really how you want to see that play out, especially in a Game 7 situation where I feel like maybe they could have kept it a little closer with their star player. But I mean, how deflating is that? How do you really go out there and compete with that gravity, knowing that this isn't just it for this season? Next season might not play out the way that this one did also. So, not to take away from the Oklahoma City Thunder, they work consistently through and through from day one to yesterday. The best team in the league. It's happy to see Alex Caruso, or rather I should say former Chicago Bull great, go out and put his heart out on the floor. He always gives it his all, and he's somebody that's super easy to root for. 2-time champion, and the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to be an issue for the rest of the NBA for years to come because they're young. They lost one of their players to the Bulls in exchange for Alex Caruso, and they didn't miss a beat. And that's a terrifying thing to realize. So we might be in for another long dynasty coming up here soon. I know it's been 7 different champions the last 7 seasons, but I don't think that trend is going to continue, especially with this team looking the way that it does. So that's just my analysis of it. We are kind of in the doldrums of the sporting year, some might say. Got a few more months before football season. And again, I'll have Peyton on maybe in the next upcoming weeks. I'll reach out to him and set up a time where we can talk about our respective teams and the outlook of the entire league. But for now, I'm stuck with the Cubs. And what a not so great week we just had. This past weekend, we had people dropping like flies on the field. We had an umpire that had to stop umpiring in the middle of the game on Saturday. We had a pitcher that was dehydrated. I know that feeling of like 95 degrees and humid. It's not fun, especially if you're not prepared for it. I totally understand how that happened, and hopefully everybody's recovering and in a better place. You got to stay hydrated. I know that heat wave is probably going to continue throughout the Illinois area, so don't forget to drink water. And the balls are flying out this weekend especially. There was that game that was postponed against the Brewers, so split the two games that they did play, and then dropped 2 out of 3 against Seattle, who is not an amazing team. I believe they're in second place, only a few games over 500, and that is cause for concern for me, because if we're not able to definitively impose ourselves on a team that I consider myself to be a lesser team for how the Cubs have been talked about around the league, I don't have very high confidence in them to be able to compete in the postseason. Granted, there's still 15 games over 500 or whatever it is. We have a very good record against teams that we should beat, teams that are under 500. We'll beat the brakes off the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Cincinnati Reds whenever. This upcoming series against the St. Louis Cardinals is going to be very telling about where we stand, especially in the division, especially against teams that are actually going to be competitive. They might actually have a push for, maybe the wild card, depending on how the NL West plays out. I know those teams out there are probably going to take 1, 2, 3 into the postseason. But I am very disappointed and underwhelmed by the pitching staff and their inability to get outs, especially during the days where the ball is blowing out. I've noticed that visiting teams always do super well in Wrigley, and they look forward to hitting in Wrigley when the wind is blowing out because they always get home runs. We made this team look like the '98 Yankees every single time. I don't think there was a single 1, 2, 3 inning at all through the series, and I don't have the facts in front of me to verify, but it felt like every single time there was a leadoff double, and that is upsetting and concerning, like I said, because if the Seattle Mariners are doing this, what can we expect, the Mets to do in a do-or-die game? Or if we make it to the World Series, anybody in the American League, the Detroit Tigers, what are they going to do? Maybe not the Yankees, because the Yankees have been sucking recently, but the Dodgers, they don't have a weak spot in their lineup. The Padres don't have a weak spot in their lineup. So I'm not too thrilled about the spot where the Cubs are at right now. I know it's super encouraging to see Shota Imanaga come back towards the end of this week. He's supposedly going to pitch Thursday against the Cardinals, so that'll be a glimmer of hope of something consistent. Because so far this season, really the only one that's been rock solid besides Imanaga has been Matthew Boyd. He's been great, so I can't say anything bad about him. The bullpen, in theory, I don't know if this is just like an anomaly of a weekend. Didn't really hold up super well. Nate Pearson let up all those runs yesterday. Genesis Cabrera has been DFA'd, and rightfully so. He's just done nothing but give up runs. The lack of investment in the pitching side of things it's probably cost like 6 games. So the offense I'm not super worried about. They're showing up, PCAs, hitting home runs left and right. Kyle Tucker, if this is an indication of him heating up, it's a beautiful thing. Those two guys are definite all-stars. PCA, I would love to see him continue this, and I think he is in a pretty good position to win the National League MVP. He has my vote. Seiya Suzuki also having a quiet, amazing season. And I need Nico Horner to get on the board, man. I need Nico to hit one out of the park. One of these days it's going to happen, and I'm gonna be real happy for him when it does. But I think it's like a 4.5 game lead that we have against the whatever. It doesn't matter if it's the Brewers or the Cardinals. But I think we're going to reach a focal point in the season where it's going to be a very hard fork in the road. Like, are we real or are we not? And that's coming up right now, and that's going to really affect the strategy that I see Jed taking going into the trade deadline. We definitely need pitching. We definitely need relievers. We need a starter. I mean, nobody could have predicted that Justin Steele would have gone on the IL for the entire season, needing surgery. But what are we going to do about it now? Like, you can't deny that it's been an issue. And so that's what I would like to see. Cade Horton's been okay, but I don't think there's anybody else in the minors that we can really bring up and say, like, this guy's ready to make the jump. And we don't really have the luxury of time or, like, a tanking season to be able to give them time to develop. So we're in a pickle because I do feel like this team is ready to win. And there's just, like, those little things that are stopping the team from taking the next step to being, like, a definite number one seed in the National League. Even if we have, like, the best record or whatever that means, I don't see the Cubs being the top team right now. But, like I said, this could be a very focal point. We have 4 games against the St. Louis Cardinals, and then we're going up against the Houston Astros. Both series being at their place. So we'll see how this plays out. I do miss back when the Astros were in the NL Central and they had that hill that was in play in center field. It almost looks like a completely different ballpark, honestly. With the flagpole in play, too. That was pretty cool. Kind of miss the Astros' red jerseys also. That was a cool look. I just remember, like, Carlos Lee and, who was it, Roy Oswalt? Those dudes. Like the butt end of Craig Biggio and all that. Those are my memories that I have against them. And I also do remember Carlos Zambrano no-hitting them in Miller Park, which is funny. And there's a lot of memories that I have about the Cardinals that I prefer not to share because I hate them and I want the Cubs to sweep them and to make all their little fans shut up. See you guys on Twitter. See you losers. Oh, you guys don't beat teams over 500. Shut up. We'll see about that. I'm about to make you under 500. So that's what I have to say about the Chicago Cubs. I'll be spending the rest of this time between now and football season, kind of just focusing on myself, trying to do this as consistently as I can, trying to go to the gym, lose a little bit of weight. Summer 2025 is upon us. Everybody stay hydrated out there. I have no sponsorship that I made up for today. Just enjoy the summer. So we'll see about this upcoming week with the Chicago Cubs. And thanks for those of you that have been tuning in from day one. I appreciate you. Let me know what you guys think. And until next time, it's over.